Good morning, students. Today we are going to study the policy of the government that they took up and how it has affected the various businesses. Now, see, the government had to do certain changes in the economy due to the depression period that was going on, and due to the various problems that people were facing in the economy. Now, what is this policy all about? It's also known as the LPG policy, which stands for liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Now, what do you understand by the term, first of all, liberalization? Liberalization means when you are liberal in your approach, or when you have made certain rules and regulations, and now you be liberal in that approach. Say, we had made a rule that you all have to submit your work till 5 p.m. today, but now being liberal means if I give you more time and there is certain changes that are made in the rules so that you are relaxed in the environment and you work in a more relaxative environment, that is known as liberalization. So various restrictions that were earlier imposed on various businesses were removed in order to give a little bit more freedom to the businesses so that they can work more effectively and for the improvement of their profits. Now, what are these steps taken by the government for liberalization? Under liberalization, like for example, the licensing system, earlier the business had to take license when it used to form, that was abolished. There was no restriction for expansion. You don't need to take permission if you want to expand your business. Then there was the earlier restrictions were there when the goods were moved from one country or from one state to another. That restrictions was also taken away. All the business firms were given freedom to fix prices of their product. They are leaving one or two commodities that are essential commodities, and they are taken under the Essential Commodities Act. There you cannot increase the prices beyond a certain point of time. There are price restrictions, but leaving those commodities, people are free to fix prices of their product. Then the taxes were reduced, export and import procedures were simplified, and steps were taken to attract more foreign exchange. Means in liberalization, all these steps were taken and all the restrictions basically were removed from the business sector so that they are given more freedom, and they are government was more liberal toward the business, and they were given each and every freedom which they wanted for expansion and for their growth. The second step was privatization. Now, in privatization, the more effect was given to the private sector, and the more importance, you can say, was given to the private sector, because it was observed that the public sector or the industries that were under the government control, they were not working properly, or they were turning into losses, or they were like a burden on the economy, on the government, and government was giving them grants and they were making losses one after the other. So government took a policy, made a policy of privatization, and all the public sector undertakings that were in losses, and they were treated as sick units earlier, their share was sold to the private sector. Now the private sector was given a greater role in the nation building process, and the public sector role was reduced. This point is also known as disinvestment, because the government has sold off the public undertakings to the private sector. So we have disinvested our money in certain organizations where the government felt that they won't be able to turn these units into profitable ventures. So private sector role enhances, or it expanded in the market, because they had purchased the public sector undertakings as well. So there were many organizations earlier which were reserved for the public sector, and private sector was not allowed to enter those industries, but that restrictions were taken away. Then the third point is globalization. Globalization is when you go beyond the political boundaries of your economy and you integrate your economy with the economy of the world. So in globalization, what was done, all the restrictions that were there for import and export were removed. There was free flow of goods between nations. So for going global, for moving global, whatever were the barriers, they were removed. Import liberalization was there. Tariffs were reduced, custom duties were reduced, people were motivated to invest their money in our country. This is known as globalization. When you make the entire globe your market is not restricted to the political boundaries of your own country. That is known as globalization. Now this LPG policy that was adopted by the government, it has had a various impact on the business houses. Now, what were the impact? Number one, increased competition. Obviously, when the foreign companies they entered in our market, they were advanced. their products that were manufactured with new technology. So they gave a tough, very very tough competition to our indigenous industries, and our industries faced a very tough problem because customer always wants the best in the market, and that best was given by the foreign companies. So increased competition was there in the market, and it had affected some businesses to that extent that they had to shut down because they could not survive, or they could not face the competition that was given by MNC. The second point is more demanding customers. Obviously, when a customer is getting something best in the market, he would ask you also to produce best. Now, why everyone wanted Chinese lights? Though we knew when you will purchase Chinese products, then it is going to hamper your economy, but they were best in the market. So when the customers know that they are getting at the same price, they are getting something better than the foreign firms, then they won't think about their own country. They just want the best for themselves. So the customers' demand increased because of the tough competition that was given by the foreign firms. Then the market orientation. Earlier, when globalization was not there, then it was believed that whatever you will be producing in your country, you will be able to sell it. But when globalization came, you could not sell everything because the best was sold in the market. Customers' demand increases. So the complete market orientation was there. Earlier, it was like production, and whatever was produced was sold. But now all the firm had to think what to produce in the market. They had to do a survey. So before production, you need to know what is a customer is demanding, and according to that demand only product was manufactured and then sold. So customer satisfaction was the main aim of each and every individual and marketer in the economy. Then the fourth point was changing technological environment. Technology is something that is changing every time, and now because there was tough competition in the market, only those firms could survive in the market that were giving best in the market. So there was like a competition between firms that who is going to give best to the customer. So every organization had to have a research department where everyone tried to do the research, and they all tried to find out new ways of manufacturing things, new methods, the best and the best technology, what best you can offer to your customer, so that you can face competition in the market. So technological environment changed. Then the necessity for change. Firm had to change their policies. Now when the MNCs entered, when the policies of the government were changed, that had affected businesses a lot. Business firm do have to change their policies because of the changing environment. Then the need for developing human resources. Now there was such tough competition from the foreign economies, from the foreign firms. Technology was changing. We were facing a tough time. Then the human resources also played an important role because everyone wanted the best human resources in the organization, and competent people, there's skillful people, competent people, their demand in the economy increased because in order to face tough competition, you have to make good policies, you have to have the best resources in the market. So human resources demand also increases, and there was a need for the development of human resources that were felt, and the people were trained after that, so that they are skillful and so that they are useful for your organization. Then the seventh point was loss of budgetary support to public sector. Now see, you can see privatization. All the public sectors, those who were not working properly, their government did disinvestment and they were sold to the private sector. So now the public sector, the ongoing public sector, they knew that they are not going to get any budgetary support from the government in case they turn into losses. If they need to survive in the market, they will have to be efficient and they will have to earn profit. There is no government support. If they will turn into losses, then it is going to be privatized. So the role and the budgetary support from the government that the public sector used to get was reduced, and public sector, they tried to now make profits in order to avoid privatization. So this is what government policies is all about, LPG policies, and how this policy affected the business firms in detail. So just read out this topic and please make your notes in your notebook.